Welcome to our third live for the Good of the Brotherhood. I'm Brother Greg Gray, and I am your candidate. I hope to be, anyway, your candidate to be the next district director for the state of Georgia. I'm very excited about this evening's topic. This evening's topic is all about brotherhood and promoting brotherhood. For those of you who've been following the campaign, you know that my campaign has four pillars: developing leaders, we talked about that a little bit on the last webinar; promoting brotherhood, which is the topic for this evening; then promoting academic excellence, which will be our next webinar in a couple of weeks, and 4 weeks from now, just before the convention, we'll be focusing on advocacy. So let's talk a little bit about promoting brotherhood. And I'm going to try to, my team has told me that I need to do a little bit better job of moving my questions along because you don't want to be here all night. So there are a couple of pieces of my platform that I want to talk about really quickly, and then we'll get right into taking some questions from those of you who are, and by the way, for those of you who don't know, there are brothers that are streaming and watching this live on Instagram, they're watching it live on Facebook, and also watching it live on a Zoom webinar. So we've got 3 channels, simulcast tonight, technology, gotta love it. So a couple of the parts of my platform around promoting brotherhood that I think are very important. The first one has to do with communication. I have found, and my experience has been, that one of the best ways that you can promote brotherhood is by making sure that you have a wide open channel of communication, making sure brothers know what's going on, making sure they're in the loop. Nothing will, I have found that nothing shuts brothers down and pushes them way faster than for them to be in the dark about what's going on. So toward that end, there are a couple of things that my platform is really proposing to do, and hopefully we'll start, these are some of the immediate things we'll start doing. One is, I think that any activity that is a critical, especially critical district-wide activities, should be promoted and communicated to the brotherhood at least 30 days in advance. And that doesn't matter what it is, 30 days in advance, whether it happened to do with IMDP or convention or leadership retreat, it doesn't really matter. The idea is that we need to make sure that we are getting the word out to brothers ahead of time. We're very busy men. We've got a lot of things going on, and we all obviously love Alpha, but we also need to make sure that we're striking the right balance between being considerate of brothers' time and their schedules and their planning. So promoting brotherhood on one level is about making sure brothers are in the loop with some lead time. That also has to do with bringing our website up to date and making sure that it is not, that it is rather a resource tool, a live, vibrant, living, up-to-date resource tool that brothers across the state can go to find whatever they need, whether it doesn't really even matter what it has to do with, that we have schedules and calendars that are all up to date. No brother should be wondering what is going on or what's coming up next big in the district. We should have a website that speaks to that immediately, and is also a resource for some of the things we talked about in the last webinar when it comes to archiving training and district communications. And we can do that behind the shield. There's lots of technology that allows us to do that behind the shield. The next thing I wanted to talk a little bit about is this whole idea of, well, for those of you who know me, I don't normally, I'm not normally delicate with my words, so let me be a little bit more direct. I think it is critical, absolutely critical, that we do everything possible to have a turnkey, even blueprints for a good reclamation program. I'm guessing, I already know that a couple of questions have come through about reclamation. I'm assuming that there will be a few more. But reclamation can't just be an event. It has to be a plan. And in a few moments, I'll share with you, some of you have seen some of the videos and some of the things we put out there already. 5 years ago, when I became the chapter president of Nu Mu Lambda, we had 75 brothers in good standing, which is a great chapter size. For most chapters, would love to have that. We love to have that. But here we sit 5 years later with over 150 brothers in good standing in the Nu Mu Lambda chapter. And you don't stumble upon that. That's not accidental. That actually happens as a result of some very specific footprints on the dance floor that hopefully we'll get a chance to share with you, and hopefully you'll ask a few questions about that stuff as we go along. And finally, when it comes to promoting brotherhood, I also want to do it in a more literal sense as well. I think we should put together something, an initiative that I call the O6 Marketplace. We have brothers across the state that have all different types of skills and businesses, and we need to know if I need an accountant, I need to know who the brothers are in the state that are accountants. If I happen to need an attorney, I need to know who those brothers are. If I need entertainment, I need to know who the DJs are. It doesn't matter what it is all about. If I need photography, if I need videography, if I need catering, if I need insurance, if we have brothers that are in the fold, and we do, that provide all those services, I think we should build a marketplace, an O6 marketplace that allows us to recycle or cycle Black and old gold dollars amongst ourselves. If a brother chooses not to use a brother for a service, that's of course his right and his privilege. But why not make sure that every single brother knows who all the brothers are that provide different goods and services so that we can support each other financially? So that is promoting brotherhood in a fiscal sense and not just a brotherhood sense. So those are some of the things that I wanted to make sure I got out there right off the bat. And let's see if we've got some questions that are coming in now. Let's see. By the way, if you have questions, please either chat them in the comment section of the Facebook page, or you can put them in the comments of Instagram, or you can chat them in on the Zoom webinar as well. So let's see, do we have a question? So let's see, Dream Team, let me know if we've got any questions that have come up. Okay, so here's one that's already come in. So what exactly did we do to get from 75 brothers in the chapter to 150 brothers in the chapter, 150 plus brothers in our chapter? I would start by telling you that, and it may surprise you to hear me say this, but that was not really our goal. The things we did were not really about building the chapter size and making the chapter larger. There was a much more central goal and a core goal, and the result was the growth of the chapter. You know what we really wanted to do? We really wanted to create an atmosphere in our chapter that was brotherly, that was welcoming, that was about the work, so that if any brother visited our chapter meeting, and quite frankly, that's where a lot of brothers make their first foray back into the fold, that what they saw in that chapter meeting reminded them of why they became an Alpha in the first place. So in your chapter meetings, and I know many of you do this already, but it's something to be intentional about. No brother that is a visiting brother should ever be standing on his own or sitting in a corner by himself. Every brother in that chapter needs to engage that brother and let him know that he's welcome. Alpha is a wonderful thing, but life takes us other places sometimes. So it should not be uncomfortable to re-enter the house of Alpha. No brother should be questioned about it. Don't ask them where they've been. Why haven't they been on Alpha? You know, I see you got a tag, but I'm gonna see you at meetings. Brothers don't need all that stuff. What they want is what all of us want, is a spirit of brotherhood. The second thing, in your chapter meeting, you need to make sure that your chapter is really doing the work of Alpha. My experience when we talk to brothers that we reclaimed is that all of them love one of two things, or both of these two things, when it comes to coming back into the house. One is a brotherly spirit. Two is the work is being done. All of us joined Alpha for one or both of those two reasons. And if you can show brothers that that is what is happening right off the bat, then I think what happens is brothers want to be around that. And so our chapter grew because we created the right atmosphere. I also did something that I would suggest to every chapter, especially if you have a reclamation chair. And if you don't have a reclamation chair, by the way, you should get one. We have one, and a full reclamation committee. One of the best decisions I ever made was appointing a brother that was a recently reclaimed brother as the chair of reclamation. I wanted to hear from him and brothers like him what it is that we did the right way to bring him back, and to help make sure that we are creating an ecosystem that encourages that to be the case going forward. So if you are putting brothers in different roles in your chapter, especially if you're a chapter president, you should consider putting a brother or a few brothers that you reclaimed in the reclamation space so that they can actually help you build a reclamation program. Okay, questions are really popping in now. Okay. Let's see, what specific strategies would you implement to foster a culture of brotherhood between college and alumni brothers? So this is always a hot topic, and it is a really big deal to because there's this, and it's not imaginary. This space that brothers feel between college and alumni brothers, and the college brothers really feel it. I will tell you. Let me tell you what we've accomplished, and then I'll tell you how we got there. Our chapter actually advises two chapters: Mu Alpha at Emory, and also Upsilon Omicron at Oglethorpe. What we are very proud to be able to say is that every brother that has graduated from either of those chapters and has remained in the city has become a member of Nu Mu Lambda. In fact, by their request, they wanted to become members of an alumni chapter. Now, how does that happen? It happens because we have a relationship with them that precedes them graduating. If the first time you really spend time around the college brothers that you are closest to is after they graduate, that's probably too late. So we invite them to all of our activities, whether it's voter registration or mentoring. They are part of everything we do. In fact, it's one of the reasons we won the Charles H. Wesley Award a couple of years ago at the district and the regional level, because of that collaboration that we do, and intentional collaboration we do all the time. We also make a big point of showing up at their activities as well, to make sure that the brothers see and the people on their campuses see that Alpha is not just college, Alpha is life. And it helps to be that kind of support system for the brothers that are college brothers. Another thing is, a lot of us refer to each other as big brother and little brother, and I get that. I try never to call college brothers little brothers. Brothers that were in college founded this fraternity. And so if there's a college chapter president, he has exactly the same standing in this fraternity as I do. College brothers have exactly the same standing in this fraternity as do I. So I don't speak to them in terms that are cliff notes. I don't abbreviate my conversations with them. In fact, I've had a number of visits with college chapters across the state. And what those brothers, I think, really appreciate is that we speak to them like men. When you talk to men and college brothers like men, that is how you develop them as leaders. And quite frankly, one of the things that people say all the time is, I wonder whether the college brothers are going to get up to go vote at the district convention. Let me tell you what I've heard from college brothers. College brothers will get up for the things that excite them and interest them. So the best way to get brothers up and out voting is to give them something excited about and somebody and something to vote for. So they're no different than you and I, but we need to treat them like they are our brothers, not like they're at the small table or the kiddie table at Thanksgiving. These are our brothers, and they should be regarded to and spoken to that way all the time. Question comes in: can the marketplace be used for college brothers to network for future positions? Absolutely. In fact, I think we should do more than just the O6 marketplace to do that. And I spoke a little bit about this a couple of weeks ago. I think we should recraft a brotherhood by profession database so that our college brothers instantly know who all the attorneys are, who all the doctors are, who all the educators are, who all the pastors are, who all the college presidents are, and on throughout the state of Georgia. So they can make a direct connection with those brothers and get the kind of mentorship that I know I would have loved to have when I was that age, to figure out how to shape my career and what potholes to avoid and such. And we should also bring that into the district convention, quite frankly. At our fraternal luncheons, it might not be a bad idea to actually have brothers sitting by area of interest. Not just college brothers, by the way, but alumni brothers too. There may be brothers that are looking for that kind of connection well, or want to change their career path. All of that is possible. So I think the key here, as my brother Daryl Haynes will say and reminds me all the time, is to be intentional about it, not incidental about it. So we need to create an infrastructure that fosters that, so that we don't stumble into it, but that we absolutely make it happen. Do you know what some of the concerns college brothers have? Name some and talk about how you would address them. I think a couple of them I've already spoken to, but I'll tell you what I've heard as I've been out and visiting brothers is involve us in the decision-making process. For example, one of the things, and we'll talk a little bit about this when we, in our next webinar, when we talk about promoting academic excellence and raising the resources and funds to do that in a more meaningful way. If we are going to be creating metrics around how we're going to reward or recognize brothers for academic excellence, for example, those brothers should be in the room to help us craft that. It is, if you really want to get people involved in the process, you make them a part of the process. And at the same time, you're teaching and growing that experience and developing them as leaders at the same time. Now, there are some that will say, and maybe this is true on some occasions, that you can't get brothers to engage, that college brothers don't want to show up, they don't want to engage. Let me tell you, every single college brother I've gotten a chance to speak to over the last few weeks, and those I'll get a chance to speak to in the next few weeks, are excited when you speak to them like men and talk to them about why you're actually doing stuff. Even if they disagree, there's a respect that will linger beyond whatever that disagreement is because of a brotherly atmosphere that we create. So they are brothers. The college and alumni designation has to do with where we stand at any point in time, but beyond that, we are brothers, and that should be our first title to one another. And I think if we speak and walk and talk that we will create an atmosphere where college brothers will be more engaged. Hey, we were all in college at one point in time too. We got a lot on our plate. We got a lot of things going on. So let's try to make our conversations and our programming meaningful to them by incorporating them. Okay, so let's see what I have next. Are we sacrificing quality for quantity with intake? It's now the largest income item on the Southern Region budget. It's probably the largest income line for the region and for the general organization as well. But let me answer the question: are we sacrificing quality for quantity? If a chapter is bringing on a line because that line brings revenue into the chapter, then yes, we are. If we are, if there's any conversation that we're having around who we are considering letting into the House of Alpha that has anything to do with anything other than the character and the temperament and the community involvement of that man, then it's getting in the way of what we should actually be doing. Obviously, Alpha has to have a fiscal engine to run on. There's no doubt about that. But I think when we take our eye off the ball and we are concerned about things other than character, community involvement, leadership, already proven obviously at the alumni level, and the prospect for leadership at the college level. If we are talking about anything other than those things, then we are sacrificing the quality of who comes through the doors of this house. And we are not protecting this house if anything else is coming before that. So I think in some cases we probably do. I know that I've heard the stories of the fact that probably happens in some cases. But here's what I would say to that, to kind of wrap it up. People can't make themselves alphas. Only we can make them alphas. So if we have a quality issue, what we have then is a filter issue, and we have a selection process issue. Somebody that is a poor quality cannot raise their hand to become an alpha. Only we can do that. So that's a place where we really have to make sure that we're looking in the mirror and that we are doing the right thing to bring prospective brothers into the house. Let's see, what else do we have here in terms of, here's one. So what do you suggest we do when it doesn't seem like Goodwill really is the monarch of this house? Okay, that's a loaded question. I'm assuming that means when brothers are not brotherly, and we've all heard that before. All brothers are not brotherly, and that's a fact. I have had some of the most interesting discussions, and by discussions I mean arguments, with brothers, alpha brothers. And some of the most heated arguments I've ever had, have been with men who wear the black and old gold. But let me tell you how the College for the Better Making of Men has helped me evolve in that way, and what I would encourage every brother to do. And that is, every conversation you lead with, you should lead with brotherhood. What has really helped me, and I think probably what has helped others as well, is to believe at the outset of any conversation that the brother before you has in his heart Alpha's best interest. If you start your conversations embracing that this brother that you may not agree with, and that's okay, has Alpha's best interest in heart, then it's easier to depart friends, even if you disagree. You know, the whole idea of greeting and shaking hands and departing friends, there's a space between that shaking hand and departing friends that we need to make sure we fill with a brotherly spirit. And if a brother doesn't agree with you, or if a brother rubs you the wrong way, which is the case, we all have the option of, you know, whose presence we want to be in. But what has really changed things for me and really helped me become a better alpha, and quite frankly, a better man, is understanding and embracing that the man in front of me has Alpha's best interest at heart, whether I agree with him or not. I think that's critically important. Okay, so let's see. Do we have any more questions here that are popping up? Let's see. How can we better unite Atlanta with the rest of the Georgia district? So we have brothers that are online here watching this that are not just from Atlanta. They're from probably all over the southern region, my guess would be. Um, I think what we do is we try to find a way from it, and this is a district, you know, this is something we have to be intentional about from the district, from a district point of view. I'll give you a great example. Today was National Voter Registration Day, and it was all over everyone's timelines, and it was a great thing. Uh, I think it would be really interesting and, quite frankly, exciting to actually marshal an effort that is a statewide effort around something like National Voter Registration Day, where brothers are all across social media, all across the state, where brothers across the state are absolutely doing the work of Alpha in terms of voter registration and voter education. There are a lot of opportunities that we have to come under the same umbrella and be able to drive our mission statement forward. And we do that, and quite a bit of that, quite frankly, on Founders Day or Founders Weekend. But there are a lot of opportunities if we are mindful and think about it and plan far enough ahead that we can actually integrate the activities that we do so that brothers from every corner of the state feel like they are in the same chapter, so to speak, by being in the same district, that we are doing something that I know here in Stone Mountain, Georgia, that what I'd be doing on voter registration evening is the same thing that somebody might be doing in Valdosta or Savannah or LaGrange or Albany or Memphis or Raleigh or Jackson, Mississippi or Dallas, Texas or Seattle, Washington. I think we should look for those opportunities to bring us together. I also think that it is important to get outside the bubble. One of the things that I've had a wonderful opportunity to do recently is actually take the message to the brotherhood as opposed to trying to get them to come to me to get the message. It's amazing what happens when you fill up a tank of gas and get on the road and go talk to brothers where they live. For example, I was visiting the alumni chapter that is in Fort Valley, Warner Robins area, and we were talking about reclamation. And my mindset around reclamation was completely altered when I was down there, because during the meeting, the brothers were talking about the fact that, Warner Air Force Base, Warner Robins Air Force Base is where a lot of brothers come through. So they have a lot of brothers that are transient, so to speak, in that space. So brothers that come, they're stationed there for a while, and then their station moves somewhere else. And so what you do around reclamation in that atmosphere is very different than what you would do in metropolitan Atlanta. And so those are the kind of things that I think we need to talk about, because all of those ideas help all of us. So I think it is, I'm in Metro Atlanta. It's kind of like the alumni college thing. Atlanta is not the big cousin. Atlanta just happens to be a city where there's a lot of alphas, but there are a lot of alphas all across the state. And I think the way we talk about that and the way we act on it when we converse with one another has a lot to do with that. Okay, so let's see, Dream Team, do we have any other questions that are out there that anyone is asking about brotherhood? Okay, so here's one. Someone asked, we talk a lot about reclamation. What about retention? Great question. You don't have to do as much reclamation if you do a really good job of retention. So this is a full disclosure thing. One of the things that we've learned, we reclaimed about 90 brothers in my chapter over the last 4 years, which is a lot of brothers, and we're very excited about that. The challenge is that we've only held on to about 70%, 60 or 70% of those brothers. And what that pointed out to me and to our chapter is that while we had a virtual machine, a reclamation machine to attract brothers back, we did not have the same infrastructure to hold on to them. So one of the things that we have started doing, as a matter of fact, we started last year, and I think the first one will actually be coming up in a week or two, is we once every 2 months, I think for right now, we're actually doing an onboarding program for brothers that we've reclaimed to the chapter. So in the same space that we have our mentoring events at the local high school, we are set up now to have committee chairs be there, brothers that are on committees be there to do a formal presentation to all the brothers that we've reclaimed to the chapter so that they can immediately hear what the chapter is all about, find out where their space might be. And this is not, by the way, just for reclaimed brothers. This is also for any brothers that happen to be neophytes that are just joining the chapter as well. What we have found is that if we don't do that over time, brothers will come to chapter meeting after chapter meeting after chapter meeting, which is a good thing, but it's got to be more than that. And to engage them in a space beyond that, that is designed specifically to onboard them, just like you would do in a business or any other successful organization. When you have someone join or rejoin, you need to make sure that the ground is fertile for them to be able to plant their roots, whether it have to do with mentoring or reclamation, or whether they are interested in finance or, or membership development, to get them closer to those committees more quickly so that we can get them engaged. Because if you can get a brother engaged doing the work that he loves, the chances to hold on to him are much better. And again, if you retain brothers, that allows you to grow. So reclaiming doesn't become you pouring water in a bucket that has a hole at the bottom of it. So there's a few different things that we can talk about that in terms of detail, but I don't want to wear this out because it's right about 7:28 right now. So I don't know whether this has been helpful. I hope it has been helpful so that you kind of look into this bald head of mine and get an idea of what some of my vision is around promoting brotherhood. But brotherhood is the first part of what we were created to do, who we're created to be, is brothers. And all of the things we've talked about all boil down to intentionality, involvement, engagement, empowerment, and communication. If we can do those things in a very intentional way, I think that is the best way we promote brotherhood. One last thing. Brothers have a life beyond Alpha, and that life takes them other places. Let's find a way not to demonize brothers who are not active right now. I believe, and I know this because brothers that we reclaimed have told me this, one of the biggest turnoffs they've had is picking up messaging that because they are not actively engaged in Alpha, that they are somehow slacking when it comes to the Black and old gold. But for those of us who have kids that are in sports or who have changed jobs that create havoc on our personal lives and our professional lives, those things sometimes take us away, and sometimes they take us away for a while. Let's make sure that we understand that these are brothers too, and that they are welcome back no matter what the circumstance was that took them away or drew them away. We are brothers first. If we think that way, everything else will follow. Okay, so it's 7:30. My team told me I need to do a better job of wrapping up half hour, so we're right at the half hour mark. Thank you, brothers, so much for joining. A couple of things I want to remind you of. If you have not already done so, please check us out at our website at gray4thegood.com. Gray4thegood is our handle for Twitter, for Instagram, for Facebook, for YouTube, all those places, Gray4thegood. And I also want to make a little bit of a plea. We talked about the fact that we're getting around a little bit. That requires resources. So please go to gray4thegood.com and click on the donate button. And as your heart and your wallet and your family allows, please dedicate some of your resources to this movement, because it gives us a chance to cast a much wider net and take the message to every corner of the state. Would you consider doing that for me, please? GrayForTheGood.com. Click on donate. All right. So for those of you who are in Atlanta, last reminder, this Thursday, big evening, we're going to have our candidates forum here in the Metro Atlanta area. It's actually sponsored by the Metro Council of Atlanta President's Council. I happen to be the chair of that council, but I'll be stepping aside that evening. Brother John Funny will actually be the moderator, along with the Area 1 Assistant Director as well. And it should be a great evening. So 6:30, we'll be there to meet and greet and talk to brothers. At 7 o'clock, the forum begins. There will be questions that you will have submitted, and let the games begin as both of us give you a chance to hear directly from us as to where we think the Georgia District can and should go. All right, that's Brother Gray for this evening. We'll let you know when the next one's coming up. In the meantime, peace and 06.